brought to the attention of the authorities, I think it should be assessed at any time. I am familiar with the property behind Memorial Hall, and I don't know who owns it or who's in charge of it. And if there's a study or anything done in the history of accidents back there, much like they do on put stop signs up on corners and stuff like that, there's a study that shows that a safety issue is involved, then we can handle that. Like I said, I don't know how many people have been injured back there, and maybe do a little background check on that. And that also includes every place in the city. As far as, you know, there's an issue there, the property, whether the property owner or public business, we all have to hold ourselves responsible for the safety of everybody.
Thank you. Kevin, you want to take that one too?
Absolutely. You know, one of the biggest things I see here is communication. I mean, if nobody brings that to the council or us, we don't know what your concerns are. I mean, tomorrow I can guarantee you I'll be checking back behind there and see who owns the property, what we can do about it, whether we can put a light on the vet's hall back there, you know, all that. But I do know there's big things coming that way, and Quincy knows a lot about it. You know, we applied for some grants, we're going through some grants to redo that whole park down there. And with that, I bet we can get lighting down in there. That park is dark at night, as people know, there's no lighting. But I think we can, probably if we get the grant, we can light all that, and it would make things safe. And as far as all the other partners, if you bring things to the council or make us aware of things, we'll react. We don't know everything that goes on in the city, believe me. But if you call us or email us or show up at our meetings, which I encourage, that's how things get done, is by all of us working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Quincy, how will you be assessing such areas for improvement for public safety?
Okay, awesome question. Actually, I enjoyed the first two responses. It's a really neat question because it's actually applicable to every issue that we deal with. And Kevin touched on it with respect to often city staff doesn't really know what the people want the city to focus on. And so one of the challenges has been transfer of information exchange, getting people to show up to meetings, but also telling us what issues they want us to look into. City staff does assess different parking lots, and they actually make it their job to do that. The difference between the community telling us what they need us to focus on and city staff assessing them is it's a limited group of people going out and making it their job to determine what's best for the community. So in order to really assess that, it needs to be our job to transfer information. So for example, if any business ever said, hey, they're not buying my product, no worries, I'll just cross my fingers and hope they purchase. The ones that succeeded made it their job to make their products the best, market what they wanted to get it out there. And where this is going, if we want to assess the situation, we need to make it our jobs to reach out to the community. We need to make it our #1 priority to have community feedback, to hear what everybody actually wants us to focus on. And without that, it's a guessing game. And like Kevin said, we do have grants that we apply for, but that specific grant from Memorial Park came from the community. The community came to us and said, would council support the community in this effort? And council did support the community, so a grant was written in partnership with the community. That's just one example. The parking lot behind the Vets Hall, for example, it's on somebody's radar. Kevin's gonna check it out tomorrow. The communication is really where the city has probably our #1 opportunity, because every issue with respect to assessing things like parking lots, risk areas, walking down by the river, dark alleys, right next to my house, dumpster diving where there's no lights, which there's some good food in there. But the thing is, it's not necessarily safe. And it's not up to just city staff and council members to assess that. What it is up to for city staff and council members is to make it our #1 priority to get the heck out there and find out what everybody wants so that we can put it on a platform and say 70% of the people want the city to prioritize the lot behind the Vets Hall. That is applicable to every single thing we need to do, and that's the simple answer.
Okay, Thomas, same question. Will you be assessing areas for public safety?
So actually, I met with Anthony, who works up at the city, to look further into building code and parking lots, and basically say, you know, for the Vets Hall specifically, I know that that's partially owned by the Vets Hall, but there's another gentleman who owns the lot next to that, called Old Car Dealerships, and I actually looked into that lot because I was going to purchase it for myself. So that's a privately owned lot, and so for government to get involved in a privately owned lot is a little bit more difficult. However, I think it is up to city staff to say, you know, best of Broadway for 10 years. I've slipped on ice, stepped in potholes, lost shoes. I mean, I understand the specific concern there. But I think that it's not just about the Vets Hall, it's a much bigger issue in that safety is the biggest issue currently that we face right now. Whether it's in your house, which I currently experience almost every night living on Ash Street, or it's walking down the street with your dog. I think that the city council needs to be very present in your everyday life, and that is, I think for a city council member, it involves not just showing up like everybody shows up to church on Sunday and then doing whatever you want for the rest of the week, but also saying, hey, I'm gonna be here and listen to your issues, but also be right next to you when we're getting that done. So for instance, if those potholes need to be filled, let's look into it, let's get it done, and I wanna be right beside you helping fill that pothole. As somebody said to me recently, it's not a Democratic pothole, it's not a Republican pothole, it is a public pothole that needs to be filled. And I think that we need a council that works together, we need people that communicate, but we also need citizens to bring up the issues to us. I think that is very important. I like how all the other candidates touched on that. Thank you for that. I think that we are a community that is proving that we can band together to create something better. The river cleanup was just the beginning. I think that a movement can do more than any one man can do. So I think that the most important thing to remember is that alone we can do nothing, but together we can do anything.
Thank you, Thomas.
Heidi, can I interrupt for just a second? The Vets Hall is actually a county building. So I don't know that that really applies to the question or not, and I'm not sure about the property, but.
The property is the veterans, the county owns it, but there's a veterans task force that's made up of anything from the VFW. Last week at the agenda meeting for the county, I'd made the point that there is a city representative to it, but because of poor communications, and this can apply both directions, so I'm not saying that the city's failed and the county's failed, but the city representative we haven't notified them that they need to give us a representative recently, and so we haven't had a city representative appointed to the Veterans Hall Task Force. And so that would be I wasn't gonna suggest it, but since you brought it up, and I'm the alternate to that, not the primary, but it is something that I think is needed, and like I say, I had tasked staff with Pete Heimgner. Of course, I tasked him with a lot of things, don't we? But I tasked him with speaking to the city about adding that representative.
Awesome, thanks for your clarification.
Should have been done earlier, sorry.
So again, the question is relating to public safety and will we be assessing areas for improvement? So we got focused on because of the original question on the Veterans Hall, but I think the question is a little bit bigger than that. It's areas, all areas for improvement. So, Joe, you want to take that question?
Sure. I think several of the candidates have touched on the importance of communication, and I think a good example of that was the recent river cleanup, and a lot of the community coming forward and just being really frustrated by what they perceived as a lack of action on the part of the city council on dealing with the homeless situation, rising crime related to illegal drug use, that sort of thing, and that's what it takes to get the city council's attention to be proactive and start doing something. In my opinion, the cleanup of the river was a really great thing in that it brought the community together and really showed what we can do when we do pull together as a community and get something done. It sends a very, very clear message to the rest of the community that, hey, we're not gonna tolerate this, we're gonna clean up our town, and along the same lines, areas that are unsafe from a safety standpoint for lit, or perhaps there's unsavory characters in the area that make it unsafe for you to be walking in that area at night. I think that's a major concern. One thing that came to mind here recently, I was just thinking about it, and you know, we have very few police officers working at night. And I'm thinking, oh, what's wrong with this picture? Most of the crime related to illegal drug use, where they're stealing things so they can support their habit, or other types of activities along those lines, happens at night. So doesn't it make sense that perhaps we should have more police officers patrolling at night? In those particular areas that are problematic? It seems like a no-brainer to me. But the point being is that the community must dialogue with the city council for us to be successful. And when you come forward and bring those things to a head, they will be dealt with. We can't ignore them. I mean, we work for the constituents of Susanville. I mean, that's who our customers are, if you will. And if we're gonna do our jobs and do them properly and perhaps get reelected, we better be sensitive to what their needs are. So that's one of the things that I would like to see happen, is make sure that the community stays involved, stays engaged, so that we can continue to work along those same lines. And if there are other things that come to our attention, then bring them to our attention, highlight, sunlight them, make them a problem. When I say sunlight them, I mean bring it to everybody's attention so we know what the issues are at hand. And I think, you know, I received something on Facebook today that was complaining about the incumbents that were running for re-election. And well, what have they done? You know, and they cited several negative things that have happened in the past. Yeah, things happen, you know. You know, what you try to do is try to not make the same mistake again and learn from your experiences and try to make better decisions in the future. And for example, our law enforcement right now in the city, I think is about as healthy as it's ever been. And in order for us to continue down that path, you know, it's really important that we get another revenue stream to support that and continue to support them. They need our support, but you know, ultimately it's going to fall on our police chief to communicate with the community, with the city council, get everybody, all the partners involved, so that we know where our priorities are and act accordingly.
Okay. So, next question that I have is economic development. Rod, we're gonna start with you. And the question is, how do each city council candidate plan to bring more technology to City Hall? That's the first question. And then the second question to that is, where will the money come from to finance these needed improvements? So first of all, how do you plan to bring more technology to City Hall, and how do you plan to fund it?
That would be a long-winded technical question, however, which it is. How do you bring more people in here for community development, business development, advertisement, let people out there in different types of industry and or lifestyles know what this area, not only Susanville, but the outlying areas have to offer as far as sports, retirement, anything that you can just kick back and relax. As far as facilitating finances for that, that's going to have to be up to them, that individual coming up here. We might be able to give them breaks, but we live in California, and that guy down there in Sacramento, they don't give us any breaks for the new businesses coming in. And that's why you see a lot of them leaving. I go on over. You people already have the answer. You know, you read it, everything. You see everything. We all love Susanville, all love the county and everything in it, but we have too many strings pulling us down and tying us down from developing.
Thank you.